Today in a New York federal courtroom, Sean Diddy Combs told the judge he was, quote, a little nervous. The rap mogul's criminal trial began this morning. He is sex trafficking, racketeering, and more. The two sides are now in the process of selecting a jury of 12.
Things are getting really tense in Diddy's big court case on day 3 of picking the jury. Everyone's on edge, from the prosecutors to Diddy's high-powered team of lawyers. But what really lit a fire under Diddy the judge brought in someone who's no stranger to celebrity trials, Ben Chew, the same lawyer who helped Johnny Depp win his huge case against Amber Heard.
Mr. Depp built a reputation as one of the most talented actors in Hollywood, a respected artist whose name was associated with success at the box office. Today, his name is associated with...
So far, they've brought in 167 people over the first 2 days to see who could serve on the jury. Out of that big group, 49 people were dismissed. Right away, the rest were asked about 100 yes or no questions, mostly about how they get their news and how they feel about Diddy. Some were honest about not liking him. Others said they weren't sure if they could stay unbiased by day 3. They narrowed things down to 35 potential jurors. These people come from all sorts of backgrounds. Some work in design, others in social work, medicine, or manufacturing. They range in age from their 30s to their 80s. They also get their news from everywhere: YouTube, social media, newspapers, etc. This makes the case quite interesting, because these jurors will often come across famous personalities taking sides in this lawsuit, increasing the chances of them becoming biased. Take Dr. Humor, for example. I ask,
this upcoming Diddy trial that's coming up in a few days, I think it's coming up in about 4 or 5 days. How you feel about Cassie testifying against Diddy?
Yes, sir. First of all, it should be absolutely illegal for Cassie to testify against Diddy. When he paid her off, I believe there was an NDA involved in that situation. He was paying her off to shut up and go away. After all the money he paid her, after her signing an NDA, how can she then be brought back into court to testify against him? It reminds me of Bill Cosby. Some of those women who lied on Bill Cosby during his sex abuse cases had NDAs. And the court let them break the NDA. You never see this with a white man accused of the same. You never see this with a Caucasian accused of the same. His lawyer should do all that they can to fight against Cassie testifying. She wasn't sex trafficked. So why are you testifying in a sex trafficking case? He is not being charged with crimes against Cassie. He's being charged with crimes against others. Cassie was paid and dismissed. Why is she being brought back into court after taking that man's money and testifying against him? That right there is clearly an excessive and abusive use of the law. Absolutely wrong. I do not like it. As far as Puffy asking for his case to be delayed, I agree with that. Remember, one of his lawyers recused himself. Okay, at least one of them. So he probably has, some new people on his legal team. They got to get reacclimated and get caught up with what's going on. And I saw nothing wrong with him asking for a 2-month delay. He's already in jail. Y'all didn't give him bail, which y'all also think is a violation of his constitutional rights. So he should have got the 8-week delay. But here we go again. Deion Sanders. We want to make an example out of Puff. And of course, Deion wasn't accused of what Puffy is being accused of, but we want to make an example out of Sean Puffy Combs. He was too confident. He was too big.
The judge is now trying to build a final group of 12 jurors and 6 alternates from that pool. But the thing is, this is a big case. Diddy is facing 5 serious federal charges. Prosecutors say he ran an illegal operation involving sex drugs, and we know his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura might even testify against him. If he's found guilty, he could be sent to prison for life. To get some expert insight, the judge called in Ben Chew, who was one of Johnny Depp's lawyers during his defamation trial against Amber Heard. Ben talked about how jury selection works, especially when celebrities are involved.
Also have a member of the team going through the social media of these jurors, making sure they didn't do anything. I mean, how much research can you do in terms of, did they search for something? Did they say something? I always am curious about that because you come into court the next day and you always hear a prosecutor or defense attorney say, court, we have an issue we would like to bring to your attention. Juror number 5 was looking at, like, it's like, how did they find that out? Is that what happens?
Well, it is in a high stakes case like this. I mean, as you know, not all clients have the resources to hire, jury consultants and to hire investigators. But in this case, you have a defendant who could theoretically be sentenced to life in prison, who has the means. So I'm sure, or I would think, that his counsel have a team of investigators following the jurors around to the extent they can and looking for any electronic footprint.
Now, I mentioned before how can you believe the jurors? How do you know they're telling the truth? Well, I'll tell you what we've seen so far in the Combs jury selection process, you have what seems to be a lot of honesty, okay? Because you had one prospective juror who told the court that she had been sexually assaulted as a teenager, and that if the defense brings up at trial that, look, these alleged victims didn't report what they say happened to them, this juror indicated they would understand why, and they would be biased in the alleged victim's favor. This juror was excluded.
He said that usually people want to be on a celebrity jury. It's exciting, and some people think it's their chance to be part of something big. But this time that's not happening. Not many people are raising their hands to join this jury. Why not? Ben said it's probably because this isn't a defamation case. Like Johnny Depp's, it's criminal, and that makes it more serious. There are a lot of disturbing things involved, and the evidence could be upsetting, so potential jurors may be thinking twice. Diddy is also reportedly nervous about the jury selection.
Morning, day 2 of jury selection in the racketeering and sex trafficking trial of Sean Combs, seen in court with graying hair. Federal prosecutors are trying to prove Combs used his power, wealth, and fame to force women into drug-fueled orgies he called freak-offs and then threaten them into silence.
The jury questionnaire warning potential jurors there may be evidence of sexually explicit videos, photographs, and language. Many prospective jurors said they had heard of the case.
Ben also shared his thoughts on what kind of jurors Diddy might be hoping for. He said people who are young, open-minded, and not easily shocked could be better for the defense. He also mentioned that more men might be favored, not because women can't be fair, but because some of the details might be harder for women to hear and stay unbiased about.
Jurors said they recognized the names of other celebrities that might come up at trial.
Several potential jurors knew of Combs' cultural significance. The woman said she remembered him from making the band. A man said he liked to listen to hip-hop in the 1990s.
Can't nobody hold me down.
When Combs became a chart-topping artist. To remain in the jury pool, all had to say they could be fair. The judge tried to keep things moving, so when the defense asked for a bathroom break, Combs apologized, saying, "Sorry, Your Honor, I'm a little nervous today."
And here's where the drama starts. Sources say Diddy did not like the judge bringing in Johnny Depp's lawyer to talk about jury selection. Apparently behind the scenes, he flipped out his legal team, wasn't expecting it. And Diddy feels like this decision could impact the whole trial after all. Who ends up on the jury could change everything.
You put Johnny Depp on the stand. It's always a high-risk strategy. It worked for you. If you were representing Sean Diddy Combs, would you put him up?
Well, we put Johnny up because he was telling the truth. So that was a very easy decision to make, and he had the burden of proof, and frankly, we couldn't have stopped him even if we wanted to, but we didn't want to. Telling the truth as he did over several days, you're not telling the truth, skilled attorneys on the other side are going to puncture that. I believe in that system. I think in this case, I don't think he's got any choice. Given that video, he's got to explain it. He's got to say that he's terribly sorry for it, but that was an aberration. That's not who he is. He simply has to.
Starting Friday, both sides will get to use their preemptory challenges. That means they can remove a juror without giving a reason as long as it's not because of the person's race or gender. If the judge thinks it is about race or gender, they can step in and stop. If there's already been some messiness, one potential juror was kicked out after saying they worked at HBO, which recently made a documentary about Diddy. Another person didn't admit they worked at the Legal Aid Society, which helps with criminal defense, but they were still allowed to stay. The judge said their answers were fine. Ben Chu thinks this phase is critical for Diddy.
I think you want somebody who wants to serve, someone eager to serve, because that suggests that person might be inclined toward a celebrity like Diddy. I would also, in this case, I would want men, not because men support abuse, but I could see this being very difficult for women jurors. I would want younger jurors as well. I don't know that older jurors would be good for him.
Do you care where they get their news? Do you care if they go on social media?
I wouldn't care so much about social media. Certainly watching you on Law and Crime would be a real problem. But no, I wouldn't care too much. I mean, in fact, if they were reading the celebrity media, TMZ, Rolling Stone, that might be an encouraging thing for Diddy's counsel.
Now, Ben, according to the court today, they expect preemptory challenges on Friday. You have a lot of jurors who saw the Cassie tape. You have a lot of jurors who were exposed to this case or something that's been going on with Sean Combs, know who he is, maybe know a list of the celebrities or places that were potentially going to be brought up in this case. Difficulty of sitting 8 weeks on this jury, but they're going to be seeing and hearing a lot. Do you think that it's going to be tough to sit a fair and impartial jury in Sean Combs' criminal case?
Well, I think they will have a fair and impartial jury. I think the problem is going to come in, with the Cassandra Ventura's tape. I mean, whether you've seen that before, you're certainly going to see that during the trial. And I think that's highly problematic, obviously, for Diddy, whether they've seen it before or not.
Yeah, because the prosecution is saying she was not only running away from Combs, she was running away from a freak-off, that there was a sex worker in that hotel room, and that goes to the charge of sex trafficking. And also racketeering, because sex trafficking is a part of that as well. Okay, so the trial's about to start. We know that Sean Combs early in the week said to the court, I'm feeling a little nervous today. Let's say openings begin day 1, May 12th, okay? What do you advise your celebrity client to do and not to do as this trial begins and progresses for 8 weeks?
I would remind him to remember that every second he is in the courtroom, at least one juror and probably more are going to be looking at him. So he should act as if he were testifying every second he's in the.
Last year, CNN showed the full security video from that hotel. It was from 2016. And it showed Diddy hitting his ex-girlfriend singer Cassie Ventura. After the video aired, Diddy did apologize for what happened. And because this case is so high profile, the jury will be kept anonymous. That means their names won't be made public to keep them safe from threats or harassment. The prosecutors say the hotel video is just one example of how Diddy used fear, violence, and control over women for more than 20 years. They say he forced women to take part in what he called freak-offs, wild drug-filled sex parties involving male sex workers. The women, they claim, didn't have a real choice. According to the official charges, Diddy used his fame and business power to make these parties happen. They say he would organize and direct these events, sometimes even record them without the women knowing. The parties could go on for days with many different people involved. Chopper recently pulled back the curtain on some truly heinous things happening at these parties.
Diddy has a very good jury consultant, probably more than one, who is profiling the type of juror who would be most sympathetic to him. And I think it's wise for attorneys, even experienced attorneys, to defer for the most part to those jury consultants. Now, ultimately, it's the client's choice, and the client should be participating in the process, especially where it's here, his liberty is at stake.
And was that something that you had in your case where your client wanted to get involved in the jury selection process? Because it's been reported that Diddy has been almost like nodding to his attorneys or maybe even shaking his head regarding certain prospective jurors. Is that common? Is that what you saw?
I think that is common, and it's natural that you would want to have some role in choosing the people who decide your fate. And it also gives the client, I think, some measure or some feeling of control in a situation where any defendant would have to feel a profound lack of control, because this is not as he's used to controlling his business, his social life, and this is a situation over which he has almost no control. So this is an opportunity for him to have at least a modicum of control.
And these preemptory challenges, each side will get a certain amount of them to strike jurors. It doesn't have to be for cause. It could be for whatever reason they want, but there are limitations. So they can't strike jurors because of race or gender or ethnicity. How on earth is the court supposed to know that? How on earth, the defense or the prosecution's not going to come out and say that's the reason they're excluding a juror.
He also revealed some very creepy things about Diddy things that we hadn't even heard rumors of before, such as Diddy having 10 insects, toys for himself.
I seen that too. I seen uncomfortable to my eyes situations for sure. That I don't rock with, you heard me? That's all. I don't rock with it, you know?
And when you would see these celebrities at these parties, they was cool with the environment. They was cool with everything.
Absolutely. Having a ball, like it was 1999. So I don't know, bro. I'm talking about celebrities. I'm talking about big time celebrities. You dig? I was just young city. I was just chopper. You heard me? But to see like the juggernauts, the big dogs, you dig? The people we grew up watching, that was kind of exciting too. It was weird, exciting, and because you can't believe that you're here. They are accepting you. But I don't really think they was accepting it. They just was fucking having fun. They didn't give a fuck who was there. And it was kind of like a situation towards, what you see in here don't go outside. It was kind of like that, if that makes sense. Whatever happens in here stays in here, because everybody got something to lose in here. So it was kind of like that too. So I guess that made people be okay and willingly able to do whatever they wanted to do in there. You heard me? Because they knew that at the end of the day, it wasn't going to come back out up there. That's why people were so eager and fun to do what they wanted to do in there. Just my opinion. Because everybody has some.
My mind a little bit. And then he talked about how this one-time Diddy tried to make a move on an MTV cameraman and made him so uncomfortable that he quit the company, one of the producers over there at MTV,